Hello and welcome to the short Vort on Parshas Shlach from Chamishi to Shishi. In this week's Parsha, during Chamishi, we have the discussion of the Nesachim, the Parsha of the libations, that includes the Mincha, the meal offering, and the Parshas of the Ger. It's a discussion of how the citizen and the Ger have the same halacha for Nesachim here. So the question is, why is the Parsha of Nesachim, which relates to Korbanos and sacrifices and Nadarim and Nadavos, why is that here in the middle of Shlach and Bamidbar? It should be somewhere in Vayikra. And why is it that this follows right after the Parsha of the Meraglim, the spies who gave a bad report about Eretz Yisrael? And why is it right before the Parsha of giving Terumah, of separating challah from your bread? So I'd like to share a couple of thoughts on this. First from the Ramban. So why is this after the Parshas Meraglim that they're giving the mitzvah of Nesachim? Because after the Bnei Yisrael were told that they won't be going to Eretz Yisrael for another 39 years as a punishment for the Avera of Lashon Hara, of saying and accepting it about Eretz Yisrael, so the next generation was afraid, well, what happens if we sin during the next 39 years? We're never going to get it into Eretz Yisrael. There's going to be another sin, and we'll just be in the desert forever. So therefore Hashem offered them this mitzvah to show that I want to do more mitzvahs, especially a mitzvah that's related to Eretz Yisrael, that the mitzvah of Nesachim doesn't apply until they come to Eretz Yisrael and they start bringing the Korbanos. But until then, this mitzvah would not apply, and therefore it was given as an assurance that Hashem was guaranteeing that they would be able to go into Eretz Yisrael after the 39 years. Another explanation on why it's connected to the Meraglim is the Chida, of Chaim Yosef Dov Azulai, the great 19th century commentator and Gadol. He says that a son can come and get forgiveness for his father. In this case, we're talking about here where in the beginning of the Parsha, the Meraglim, they said, listen, how about bringing the eshkol, the grape off the grapevine? It was so big that it was actually a bad thing for us, and they were punished on talking about that eshkol. So therefore, the son of the eshkol, which is the grape of the vine, which is used for nesachim, for the libations, so that would be a kapara. By doing this mitzvah, would be kapara for the sin that was involved with the eshkol, which happens to be the symbol of one of the wine companies. I think it might be Carmel or something like that. Now, why was it connected to this parsha of Ger and Nesachim? Why is it connected to challah, giving challah? So the Chida once again gives an explanation. He says that when the 70 nations were created, each nation had a sar, it had its head, and through a lottery, each sar got the nation that it would be responsible for and the populace that it would be responsible for, and that would be their domain. We have a rule by a king that sometimes a king can take someone else's property, like eminent domain, and that's the power of the king. And Hashem is Melech Malchei Amlachim, he's the king of kings, and therefore he also has the power to take something away. And the question is, well, how come a ger, if he's part of that population that they got in a lottery, so it belongs to that sar, how can a ger leave? So that's part of Hashem's privilege as Melech Malchei Amlachim, that he can take away a ger and acquire it to himself. And there's a remez for that. In the psukim that we read in Chamishi and in Shishi, it says, Torah achas yeh leger v'le'ezrach. It's talking about the ger. So how is it that the ger can be acquired away from the sar that wanted in a gorel? So the answer is, B'vo'achem el ha'aretz, when they come to the land, asher ani mevi'eschem, that I'm bringing you there, and you will bring Terumah there. So as Melech Malchei Amlachim, he has the power to take away and allow this person to be megayer away from his tribe. Because this is ger, this is the holy person who had a spark of kedusha amongst that nation. And therefore, it's just like Terumah, that Terumah is the holy part of the challah that you separate and sanctify to Hashem. So therefore, the ger is taken away from the amim and sanctified to become a Jew, given to Hashem for holy service, and that is why the parsha of Nesachim and the ger is connected to the parsha of the Terumah. So thank you for listening. Have a wonderful week and a wonderful Shabbos.